Do you remember? Do you remember? I remember all those years.
Oh, I remember. I remember.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Do You Remember podcast. I'm your host. My name's Adam Anwar, and today I'm joined by stand-up comedian Phil Sutton.
Hey man, thanks for having me.
No worries, man. Cheers for coming on. How you doing?
Yeah, I'm good, man. You know, just chilling in lockdown and all that. Just trying to fill the days with something busy. So thanks for getting me to do this.
Yeah, definitely, man. And that's the reason why I started this podcast, because we had all this spare time. I wanted to do something a bit more productive, but also give people something to listen to if they're interested in the topic. And today, our topic is going to be Dr. Dre's album, Dre 2001. So for the people who might not know, can you give us a brief synopsis of what Dre 2001 is?
It's one of the top albums by Dre, probably one of the most iconic ones. Came out at a good time because he just kind of risen back to the top after signing Eminem, and he had a lot of features on this album. It's kind of regarded as one of the best hip hop albums, and got some of the best hip hop singles, if not just best songs altogether. Regarded as one of the top songs, stuff like Still Dre, Forgot About Dre. They've all got Dre in the title. Next episode, you know, the big hitters.
It's incredible, man.
So let's give a bit of context to this then. So Dre 2001, it came out in 2000. No, it came out in 1999, didn't it? So where's a young Phil Sutton in 1999? How old are you? Where are you? What's going on in your life in 1999?
I just happened to be at my mom's house going through records.
I'm 8 years old in 1999. I think I was getting into Eminem around the same time. I remember my first album that I ever bought myself was Marshall Mathers LP on tape cassette for £5.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And I had the parental advisory sticker on it. So when my mum found it, well, actually, the way it worked, my sister heard the language on it and then kind of grasped me up, and I got it taken off me. But after that, I was hooked on hip hop. So, but I reckon I discovered this album a little while after that. Obviously, I would have heard the big singles in the charts and stuff, and then only as I've hit my late teens and started getting into music more that I really listened to this album.
So no, right. So I got to just dial it back a little bit a second. So right, you had this on tape cassette, and your sister hears it. Is your sister older sister, younger sister? What is it?
Yeah, so it was Marshall Mathers LP I had on tape cassette, and it was my older sister that heard it playing in my room, and she's in the hallway, and then she bursts in my room, and she's going mad over the language on it, and then she goes and grasses me up to my parents, and they take it off me.
And what's the age difference? How much older is she?
She's 4 years older than me, so she would have been about 13, proper goody two-shoes, straight A's at school. So this misogynistic, violent language, she was having none of it for her little brother.
Oh man! So when you first mentioned it, that you had it Marshall Mathers LP on tape cassette, I was going to ask, do you still have it anymore? But obviously your parents took it off you. Did you ever get it back, or is it just completely gone?
Yeah, man. Madly enough, this is fucking crazy. This was. They sat me down and talked to me about it. They're holding the tape cassette. My stepdad, this, and I surely did not listen to it, but they're going on about the language on it and stuff. And they went, "We're going to burn this and give you a £5 back." And they threw it in the fireplace. I don't think I got my £5 back, but no, I didn't ever get that. That would be a good relic, wouldn't it? Having that tape cassette.
Do you know what? Right. I had a vision of a sketch where parents do that, then they go back and listen to it, and they actually love it. But they threw it in the fireplace. That's so dramatic. Was the fire on at the time as well? Because that is such a dramatic visual for an 8-year-old at the time.
Yeah, I know, man. It's pretty. I do remember them having the fire on all the time, and maybe I'm just kind of doing that thing where you've told the story so many times that you've embellished it. But in my head, the actual tape is all unwinding and curling and burning, and I'm looking at it no, my introduction to new music
We want it to be as authentic as possible.
Oh man, that is crazy. That is crazy. But like, yeah, so that's very, very interesting. So like 8 years old, you buying Eminem, and then you mentioned like later on in your teenage years, that's when you would have first heard this album, Dre 2001. Do you remember what it was that like first drew you to the album? Like how did you come across Dre 2001?
Yeah, well, I think obviously when I was like a kid and that kind of music was coming out at the time, Eminem was big, 50 Cent, Dr. Dre, and around that time I would have heard the singles and gone on music channels to watch all these different things, and these big singles like Still Dre, Forgot About Dre and things like that, I'm catching them first, but then I think it would have been around the like LimeWire, uTorrent days, like in my teenage years, where you're just kind of trying to get the discography of your favorite hip hop artist or whatever, and that's kind of when I got into this, like probably in my late teens, yeah, when I'm really trying to broaden my horizons on what hip hop I'm into.
Ah, that's interesting, man. Because like I was thinking back earlier, like how I first came across this, and my story is quite similar to yours in that on the music channels I had the like Still Dre, Forgot About Dre, Next Episode, those huge singles at the time that were well, in my memory they were really mega, but like looking back at like how they shined and how the album shined, we can get into that a bit later. It doesn't really like match up with what my memory of it was. But I remember a few years later, I had a mate, I was about 13, and my mate, he must have been about 17, and he just got a car. And like me and like five of us would like drive around. Like I don't even know where we were going. We're probably going nowhere in particular. But this was the album that we would have on. We'd have on 2001 in the CD player in his car, and like we just listened to it over and over again. And I remember like some of the first, I think the second track on the album is The Watcher after like Low, which is like a skit. And when The Watcher came on from that song, I was absolutely hooked. And like from then till this day, up until today when I've listened to it back again, I've always seen this as like one of the greatest albums of all time. It's only today when I've re-listened to it where it doesn't quite match up with my memory of it, but still I do eye it on a high pedestal. But so what about the people around you? Were like your mates listening to this, or was it something that you went about separately, or what's the deal with that?
Yeah, and just to touch on what you said there as well, man. When you said that you were driving around, listen to that album. I was thinking that's like proper bad man. Like I remember you're a teenager, one of your mates has a car, and you listen to these kind of albums like driving around, and you just think you're the shit. And yeah, that's the kind of album where actually this is a good thing. A little tip for people at house parties: you stick on an album like this, gangster rap album, and just some visuals for the party. You put on a nature documentary in the background. There's like pandas walking around slowly, there's lizards and stuff like that, or you get some sort of old footage from the 1900s and you put that on, and just the contrast of gangster rap music with cute little panda bears, it kind of like, I don't know, it makes it a party environment for some reason. I don't know why that mix works, but it does.
I played it at a house party and everybody wanted me to rewind it and keep playing it. That's when I knew it was special.
I was really wondering where you're going with it, and after you finished it all, I'm still wondering where you're going with it. I've got to see this in action. I think after we get off here, I'm going to play Dre 2001. I'm going to put on like a nature documentary and like see where you're coming from there.
Yeah, man, all the little lizards look super gangster, basically, is what I'm trying to say. But yeah, to answer your question, sorry. When we listened to it, when was I discovering it? I think it would have been around the time that I was kind of getting back into. No, not getting back into, sorry. When I was first started learning guitar, I was about 18, and up until really listening to this album, I was kind of trying to learn a lot of the songs that are kind of like classic guitar songs, you could call them, I guess, just like Nirvana and just kind of singer-songwriter stuff like John Mayer, even just stuff like that, where I'm like, oh, well, these are the guitar songs that when you go on a YouTube channel and it's like giving you learn to play these easy songs, I'm going on there. But then after a while I started like hearing, like listening to music differently, like actively listening to it, hearing the guitar parts in this album 2001, like in songs like Explosive, which is one of my favorite tracks on the album. And that riff, I remember learning that and just being like, oh yeah, this brings a whole new element to playing guitar, is that you can it's not just the rock bands that I can cover. It's not just singer-songwriters. I can go to all my favorite hip-hop tunes and kind of like learn all the riffs from that, and it makes you just appreciate the album and the production of it much more.
Definitely, like you've just touched on something there, like the production of it. Dr. Dre, earlier on today, I was reading into like what people like had said about Dr. Dre through the years and stuff like that. And something that really, really struck me was that it said like Dr. Dre is not just a hip hop producer, but he's like a composer, like an orchestra. And when you got the orchestra, it's got all the different sections, you know, like the woodwind section, the brass section, and all that stuff. And like Dr. Dre's like a composer. He puts this kind of masterpiece all together in like a real complete package. There's loads of stuff that people like about like hip hop and the hip hop lifestyle and stuff like that. But like when it comes to the complete package, I think Dre absolutely nailed it on this album.
Yeah, for sure, man. Because like you've even seen videos of Dre like in the studio, and he's kind of stood over the mixing desk, like he's conducting an orchestra. Sorry, and like say a song like "Still Dre," for example, like just iconic. It's even been like you see a lot of pianists kind of covering "Still Dre" because it's just such an iconic piece of music, and in that song, it's kind of like there's a lot of simplicity to it in each layer. That the drums are like this simple hip hop beat, but you know that Dre was like sat there for ages trying to find the right kick sound or the right snare sound. So that even the simplicity of that is like there's so much like complexity in it, and then there's the layers like you said of there's the piano part, and then the strings come in, and then it's just all these layers come in and out. And when you do listen to that album now in headphones, you're walking around, you can really appreciate all the different layers to it.
Definitely, like through the years, that like to just diverge into something slightly different. It's like Dr. Dre's got like not a lot of flack, but yeah, in some circles he's got a lot of flack for not writing his own songs, you know. But I've come to the stage in my life where like I don't really judge a song on like did this person write it, did they not write it? Or I mean, obviously it does give the extra oomph to it if that person does write it and it is really emotive. But when it's just a complete package and you can look at it all in terms of Dr. Dre was in charge of this album. He was like the executive producer. There was no one above him like pulling the strings, and then he didn't write it, and he had nothing to do with everything. He had something to do with everything. And like to put this huge package together, I think is like a real like plus for like Dr. Dre.
Yeah, man, for sure. Like the thing that you touched on with he's like known for not writing his own, like having ghostwriters. I think that's as I've gotten older, like you said, I've appreciated more that what he's really doing there is he's just looked at this album as even though he's the executive producer, he's like the top guy making sure that he is like composing the orchestra. He's also like aware of his strengths and his weaknesses. So if he has Eminem on a track, he's got to get Eminem to help him with his verse, and you can see it in each one. Like every song that he has a feature on, because that artist, whether it's Snoop Dogg or Eminem or Exhibit, whoever, Nate Dogg, you can see that it's almost as if the song has a theme going through it within the lyrics or just the way, I don't know. You can see where I'm getting to anyway. And
yeah, definitely.
Yeah, it's like he knows it's a collaborative effort, and he'll have people who come in who can write real good, like Eminem, and just get him to like help him out on that part in the same way that someone might have brought him an idea and he's just tuned it up and just made like these sick beats out of it.
Definitely, he's like the architect, isn't he? Like the architect isn't the guy on the ground putting the bricks on. He's not the guy who's putting the window in. He's not the guy who's like up on the roof and like making sure the slates are right. The architect is the guy who's like, right, listen, this is my vision, and I'm going to bring in the bricklayers. I'm going to get in the window fitters. I'm going to bring in roofers, and I'm going to make sure that even like, because there's a lot of people included on this album who aren't like the top of the hip hop world. There's people like Nocturnal who like I can't really tell you a lot about Nocturnal. He goes under the radar, but Dr. Dre brings him in and utilizes him correctly in this album to be a part of his masterpiece. And I think that's like again like one of the great things about Dr. Dre. He's such a great architect where he can bring all these roofers in and all these window like doubles in and all this stuff and like put together like a masterpiece of a house in terms of AKA this album.
Yeah, man, I know what you mean. Like what you said there is like about these like kind of unknown artists now. Like they were big to kind of hip hop heads at the time, but the reason that's so good is because not only has he got these big names on his album that have stood the test of time, Snoop Dogg, Eminem, that kind of thing, but he's also got these artists that were, to him, some of his favorite rappers at the time, or favorite singers or whatever, Mary J. Blige, Nate Dogg, and he's got them on that album. So not only is does this album stand the test of time, but it's also it's like a chunk out of that era of hip hop. It's like he's got
Like a
these
time
artists.
capsule.
Exactly, yeah, yeah. So it kind of on two different levels there. It stands the test of time, yet also is like a little time capsule from that period.
Definitely, and not just like rappers and singers. He's also got a comedian on it. He's got Eddie Griffin in it as well.
Oh yeah, yeah, oh yeah. I remember seeing that when I was looking through today. I remember seeing it as one of the featured artists, and I was like, huh?
Yeah, and I remember like as a kid, like not really understanding why, because I mean it's only really a thing in hip hop music, isn't it? The skits and like, oh, let's just put like a little skit in it. Like I don't, even to this day I don't really understand why it's done, because like I say, we don't really see it in other forms of music, but for some reason it just kind of has become a part of hip hop culture, like a skit on an album, especially like this Eddie Griffin one, which is like kind of comedic but kind of dark as well.
Yeah, man. And if you look at all the albums, like the big albums that Dre has produced as well, like a lot of the Eminem albums, even Kendrick Lamar's Good Kid, Mad City, that has a lot of skits on it that go into each song, and that album as a whole is just like it plays out like a film. And I think that's why they've got those skits in there, like that first skit Lola on the album. It's kind of like it's like, oh, Dre's here kind of thing, and it's as if to say like, yeah, he's back kind of thing. And then I'm sure there's one called Pause for Porno as well, and it's always the one that comes on and you're like trying to change it when you're in public.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. Yeah, so
that is such an awkward. That was such an awkward one. Sorry to cut you off. As a kid, playing the album in your bedroom and like Pause for Porno comes on, because if your parents are walking past, they literally think you're just watching a porno. And like, obviously, when you're a kid, that's like the worst thing they could hear you listening to in your room.
Nightmare. Yeah, I think there's a Biggie song as well that has that on it, and it's quite popular in that in hip hop to just surprise you with this like these porno sounds in the middle of an album. Like I can't imagine playing it in your car and you pulled up at the lights and there's just people like,
Yeah.
What is that guy watching in his car? Like, what is he doing?
Yeah, that definitely would have happened as well through all the years. It's kind of like that meme that goes around nowadays where like you're watching a video and then just the porn noises start playing. I suppose hip hop was like the first introducers of that.
Yeah, man, they had the first pop-up porno skits.
Yeah.
Just while we're on that subject as well, another thing I should mention is one thing that doesn't hold up with this album is like it is super misogynistic. Like some of the lyrics in it, like there's a song called actually on Explosive. I actually took some of the lyrics out here, and it's like, fuck a bitch, don't tease bitch, strip tease bitch, eat a bowl of these bitch, gobble the dick, just all this shit, like saying it as white and English as possible to just kind of show you how like, wow, you could not make this in 2021.
Yeah, I thought the exact same thing when I listened to it, that like there's so much in it that you just can't do anymore, and a lot of it doesn't hold up. Like this is the thing that we're going to get to, like when we dive really deep into it and we get into all the songs in about a few minutes. We're going to get into it a bit more, but yeah, there's a lot of the lyrics that really, really don't stand up. What I think one of them was like, "Oh, bitch, when I grab you by the arm in the club, you better come with me," or something. And I was like, "What the like?"
Yeah, man, it's Act Right, that one. It's called Act Right, like ACKRITE, and it's just you better act right, bitch. Like it's just super like really misogynistic. It's mad when you listen to it. Like, whoa.
Yeah, and like it's even weirder that like I mean, we were kids growing up. I mean, listening to this stuff and like it's sort of like I kind of get it now. Like in the position of like your parents like waving that tape in front of you, like I don't want you listening to this stuff because like I grew up on this stuff, but realistically, if I was to have a child now who's like 10 years old, would I want to give them this album? Be like, yeah, we'll just listen to this. I'm not too sure myself, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I've kind of always looked at it like I remember hearing these albums, and I didn't want to like emulate it. I was just kind of going, so this is that culture, like kind of gangster kind of rap culture. I'm hearing a snippet out of it. I'm not like relating to it. I'm just going, oh, so that's how these guys like, that's how these guys want to express themselves. And it's never like, I don't know. I don't, the whole thing with like, it's the music, it's the films, it's the video games. I've kind of never really been on that side. I've never listened to a hip hop album and wanted to go out and smack a hole. Do you know what I mean?
I completely agree with you in one aspect that I also don't, but we, like me and you, we're not like across the board, everyone's like us. Do you know what I mean?
Gangsters.
No, but like not everyone like is across the board is like us and going to listen to it on a more level-headed basis and be because there's always people that like look to things in films and music and do pick from it. And obviously when you're more wide-eyed and bushy and like taking things in, then I don't know. I think there's always an extreme element of society that like are more susceptible to this kind of thing. Do you know, if that makes sense?
Yeah, for sure. And to be honest, like I'm thinking of this now with the hindsight of getting older, but if that makes any sense. But at the time, it probably would have affected my vocabulary and just affected my thoughts because they're your role models. Like I remember being like really into hip hop, so like kind of what they're saying, you kind of going, well, there must be some like you're not looking at it like it's a Tarantino film where they're bashing someone's head and you're like, oh, that's entertainment. It's just gruesome and funny kind of thing. Like in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, like these kind of things where you appreciate it as a film. Like these albums are the same kind of thing. It's just a very exaggerated representation of their life.
Sure. And yeah, now as an adult, I listen to it, and I do listen to it as like an art piece, as a movie. It's all storytelling, isn't it? But when you're a kid, you think like they're giving you their version of life, and this is real, and like this is a kind of life that's out there to be lived. Maybe I don't know. It's hard to really touch on because I'm not an expert on this kind of thing. I'm just an idiot with a podcast.
Same here, man. But no, I definitely. There's probably a lot of people who would admit that when they were around that age, just like early teens, maybe they probably just listen to this kind of music and at least have inside them like, I'm a bit of a gangster, I think, as well. People don't know it, but I am.
No, definitely. Like, I think toxic masculinity is thrown around quite often, and I suppose it definitely could be labelled to this album. But like, there's always that element in a lot of males who they believe they're a badass and they believe they're a lot more of a tough guy than they really, really are. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, true. Yeah, and like, when you said toxic masculinity there, I'm kind of like thinking about these lyrics and it's like it is almost like there's no need. There's just kind of no need for that. Like it's just kind of if it happened now, like there used to be a lot of homophobia in rap music, and it's just kind of not around anymore as much, and it's not affected it really. It's not made it worse. It's not like I'm going, oh well, rap's good, but I need more homophobia back.
Exactly. Like there's a lot of elements that like you can take out. I mean, hip hop is so broad and so like it's such a great art form that like you don't need like obviously there's always it's hard to really put into words because obviously in the movies like you see racist characters in movies, yeah, and you see homophobic characters in movies, and the good characters in the sense that like because they're so bad. You like to see them because you like to see them be defeated, if that makes sense. Yeah,
it's entertaining. Like it's not that you're watching it going like you're not rooting for them. You're just like, whoa, that evil character. Like there's great villains, and I guess if you kind of look at like Slim Shady, like when Eminem is on this album, he's being that alter ego of Slim Shady, the guy who says like in the song "What's the Difference?" It's all about killing his wife and stuff like that. His verse. And he's always said that he wants it to seem like a horror movie rather than what he actually feels kind of thing.
It's always refreshing to know that the artist that you're working with is going to enhance your track.
Right, so let's dive into the track list, shall we? We'll go through it like track by track and we'll just give our opinions on it, what we think now, what we maybe thought at the time, just whatever we we come up with. So track number 1 is the intro, Low Low. What do you remember about this? You touched on it already. Like it's kind of like Dre's arriving, and that's the start of this like album. Is like he's getting there. What's your other thoughts on it? Anything else?
Not too much really. It's just kind of like I like how it just. I do like when it starts off with a skit on a lot of albums because it's just kind of giving you the theme of it, and you can kind of it gets you in that visual space when you're hearing the different sounds they've got in the background of the lowrider car coming in and all these different people chatting, talking about Dre. Yeah, it just kind of gets you in the mood for that fucking sick first song.
I liked it because it like if I remember it starts like and it's kind of like do you remember like when you used to turn the PlayStation on the first PlayStation?
Yeah, man.
And it's like a similar noise to that, like not very similar, but like it just reminded me of like that turning it on. And I suppose this is where the album is kind of like a movie and like a piece of entertainment like that. It's like it starts with that that kind of a noise, and like 20th Century Fox has their like kind of their intro,
yeah.
don't they and stuff, and that was quite a cinematic way to kind of open it. I felt like.
Yeah, he knows. Like I've realized this as I've kind of understood how. Started to understand how music works a bit more is people know, like Dre would have known that sound, whenever someone hears that, they know that his album's coming on. He's picked a sound that is like this iconic sound that starts up the album. So whenever someone plays it, they relate that sound with his album.
Definitely, and let's go to track number 2 then, shall we? It's The Watcher featuring Eminem and Nocturnal. So what are your thoughts of this one? What do you remember about this one?
Just the beat, man. It's like that kind of classic G-Funk Dr. Dre style, and it's kind of got this like I don't know what the word is for it, but it's kind of I'm doing a shit job of explaining what it sounds like, but it's that dum 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 dum. It's kind of like just something cheeky's happening, just something like mysterious is going on. Like he's kind of bringing in the album in a really good. He kind of starts it off really well. I'm kind of rambling here, but my main point about that album that song was that I like how Eminem was he's on the chorus, because like I said before, I think the reason that Dr. Dre, this album came at the right time, it's such a big album, is because after signing Eminem, he'd kind of risen back to the top after having a couple of albums that didn't really work.
Yeah, even to this day, I love this song, but I absolutely loved this song as a kid. Like the way it's like started off with like things just ain't the same for gangsters or whatever. Like
Yeah, that's such an iconic first lyric as well.
yeah, and it kind of felt like in like Goodfellas, because like we were talking about Goodfellas a few days ago. Goodfellas is like from the perspective of someone who's no longer a gangster, but like he's gone through this life and he's kind of narrating his own life. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure, man. So it's like you said, it's a great first lyric for it, and that's
yeah. And that's what this really, really felt like. Is like him like kind of narrating the start of his film. Like things just ain't the same for gangsters, and like I started this gangster shit, and this the motherfucking thanks I get. Oh, I absolutely love that line. I've always loved that line, and like. Yeah, growing up in England, like people don't want to hear our opinions on this, but fuck it, I'm an idiot on a podcast. Like I absolutely love that line.
No, I don't know, mate. It's because, like you said, like I don't think anyone would judge us for enjoying Goodfellas. So, and we're not Italian gangsters from New York. We're like just English dudes. So it's the same with this. It's like if you've watched enough, if you listen to enough gangster rap and stuff, and you've heard NWA, Tupac, Biggie, then when it gets to this album, like, and that first lyric, things ain't the same for gangsters. It kind of sets the mood for the entire album.
Yeah, that's a good point. Actually, that's a good point. Like how, when you become a fan of something, it doesn't matter what background you're from. You're engaged with that culture, aren't you? Even if it's just from a fan standpoint, maybe not a part of that culture. Like we're not Italian gangsters either. Like we can still like engage with that culture in terms of as an art form.
Yeah, for sure, man. Like, and I wouldn't be surprised if there's a lot of guys from like Compton who were a fan of like Oasis. Just something that you wouldn't expect. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, there's going to be a lot of different people from different areas that like there's certain music that you kind of relate to and you feel like no one else could, yet it's popular amongst all different cultures. So I kind of feel like when it's just so good, it just transcends all of that, and it can speak to anyone, kind of thing.
Definitely, and I was laughing then because I've got this idea in my head of like a sketch, you know, Shaz Nawaz. I've had this idea in my head of a sketch of him like making chapatis, like sing it like I said maybe. I don't know why, just in my head that's like such a funny visual. But yeah, that just came to my mind then. But yeah, next song we talked about toxic masculinity earlier, and it's starting to rear its head. Fuck you. What do you remember about this one?
Yeah, well, I gave this a re-listen before, and I've made little notes, and I've just written super much misogynistic. Definitely could not make this album in 2021. 2021. And the reason I'm saying that is because it'd be 20 years later. Well, it wouldn't even be, would it? 2001. Anyway, you couldn't make this year, kind of thing. Yeah, it's really like you listen to the lyrics, like wow. But I don't know. It's the beat's sick and everything. It's more of a shock value when you listen to it these days. I guess back then you would have had we might have been desensitized to it, but you listen to it now and it's like watching just some old video or an old sitcom where it's like, whoa, they were just racist or they were just really sexist kind of thing.
Yeah. It's really jarring, isn't it? Like when you go over the lyrics, it's like I just want to fuck bad bitches. All the nights I never had bitches. Now I'm all up in the ass bitches. Mad at your boyfriend. Or you've got a husband who loves you or not. It's like, oh, it's kind of...
Yeah,
it's awkward. It's awkward listening to it, and I cringe a little bit because I can only imagine like my mum listening outside my bedroom, like, what's he listening to in there? Like 12-year-old me like playing this on my stereo or whatever.
Yeah, and it's like it could not be as a 12-year-old, it could not be further from the truth. Like we were probably scared at the time of even touching a girl's hand. Never mind backhanding a hoe.
Yeah, it's crazy. But let's get to the next song then. It's one of the singles. It's one of the big ones. It's Still Dre. What do you remember about this one?
Yeah, like I said, we've already touched on this a little bit. Where I just said it's kind of like just regarded as one of the best songs. Oh, actually, this is the thing we could talk about. I remember first seeing the video, and I just the image in my head is that like crane shot above them. And it's Dre and Snoop Dogg walking towards the camera as the lowrider car on the hydraulics are just bouncing behind them. Yeah, it's just iconic, man. It's like a great video.
Yeah, that is such a cool visual as well. Like you can always like anytime like that's been used in like loads of hip hop videos for the years, like the car on the hydraulics. But like I don't know why, but for this song and for this video, it's just so iconic, isn't it?
Yeah, man. If you said to someone like picture lowrider bouncing on hydraulics, like what video are you picturing? It's Still Dre for everyone, pretty much, I think.
And like this is like one of the songs that again, it's kind of like a biography of this album at points where like obviously the point of this song is that he's still Dre, and obviously he's had all these kind of years out where like he had his first album in about 92 when Chronic came out, and then well obviously post NWA, then they had like a couple like compilation albums that he brought out that, like you mentioned earlier, I think that like they kind of flopped a little bit. Then he signed Eminem and he had a kind of career resurgence. And like some of the lyrics in there where it's like, they say rap's changed, they want to know how I feel about it. It's like he's mad that he's been interviewed and like he's been interviewed as if he's out of the game now, where he's saying, I'm not out of the game. I've had like a few years off, but like I'm back now.
Yeah, I know what you mean. And I just love that like still, and then he's like informing you of like, don't worry, I'm still this. Like one of my favorite ones is Still Not Loving Police, because it's like just a throwback to Fuck the Police from NWA, and it's just kind of, he does that in this song. He's just kind of like you said, just going, I'm still the top dog here, like don't forget about that.
Yeah, definitely. As comedians, we know like some of the biggest laughs we'll get is when we make like a good callback, isn't it? And like for Dr. Dre, you can't have a better callback than mentioning like one of like the biggest songs you've ever been involved in, like Fuck the Police, like Still Not Loving Police. To call back to it, you're gonna get people's emotions going, and like you're gonna get people really involved in this song and like really enjoying it because you're making that call back to the thing that they loved from that decade ago.
Yeah, true, man. Altogether, just like it's not. It just doesn't get old. This song, you can hear it any time. It could have been playing a couple of times that week, and it's just iconic. You hear it, and you're like, oh shit.
And again, like I was saying before, like it's kind of like a biography. Like he says, like since the last time you heard from me, I lost some friends. Well, hell, me and Snoop we dipping again. Kept my ear to the street, signed Eminem. Like that's basically in just those three lines. He's encapsulated, and he's caught you up on his life basically since we last heard of him from the Chronic. Like obviously since then, like Tupac died and Eazy-E died, and then obviously him and Snoop are now back together, and he signed Eminem, and like just the way that he kind of ties it all together is like really, really good.
Yeah, man, and it's kind of like I noticed with Eminem as well. On every album, he always has that "Here I Am" song. It was like "My Name Is" was the first one, and then the real Slim Shady was the one where he's like he's back, and it's like the lead single. He's like referencing all of popular culture. There's "Without Me," there's "We Made You," and all those like that's on every album. That single. He's like makes that song every time, and I think that this is Dre's version of it. It's like he's showing you his back, and he's kind of like addressing everything that's been going on, and it's kind of a good way of just being like, "Here I am," kind of thing.
Yeah, it's as if like he's kind of got something to prove. Like he's kind of been silent for all these years. Obviously not like dead silent, but like in terms of making his own album, he's been silent for all these years, and now he's coming out and saying like, "Listen, I'm still Dre," and he's saying all this stuff, and yeah. I think it's like a really, really good song to have so early on in the album, like in the fourth track.
Yeah, man, and to think that that was the song that he was like, "Hey everyone, I'm back," like, and then it's that song that's just for like 2 decades now, just been regarded as one of the best songs hip hop wise, or even just I reckon it's some of the top 100 songs charts and all that kind of stuff.
Definitely. Right, next track, then track number 5, we've got Big Egos.
Yeah. Another just super gangster song. Just kind of one of those where it's like, to be honest, I wrote, the note that I wrote for this song was something that I've already said earlier about just sticking this kind of song on and having that animal documentary on in the background. Just it's the kind of song that you're driving around in the car feeling like a bad man. But have you got the lyrics up there? Maybe we can go through some of them.
Yeah, sure. So like some of the lyrics like stick out to me. Where are they? So like this is where like he starts to get into like gangster culture, like properly. It's like as long as I got a Beretta, I'm down for whatever. Like which is kind of like it's that like when you can put that line out, it's like an iconic kind of gangster kind of line, isn't it? Like as long as I've got a gun, I'm up for anything kind of thing. And like then he gets into like bumping gangster rap shit down to Blast for Cash, because from Eazy-E to DLC to DPG. Started from the SOB DRE, so like he's kind of basically now saying at this point, he's saying like, "Oh, you've got me to thank for all these people like Eazy-E, the DLC, and the Dog Pound Crew gang."
Yeah, true, man. Yeah, good point. Who's featured on this track? Let's have a quick look at this, because
it's Hitman on this track, I think.
Yeah,
which at the time I thought Hitman was going to really blow up. Like when I first heard this song, because I was like, "Wow, this guy's all over this album. Like he's got great import." That's what I thought at the time. And like I never heard it from him again.
Yeah, true, man. It is mad how some of the names on this album, like obviously at the time he regarded as like some of the best artists out there at the time, and they would have brought their A game for Dr. Dre's like big album. So it's surprising we haven't seen more of them afterwards.
Yeah, another one of like a part of the lyrics that I really liked was like, "I own acres, floor seats watching the Lakers." Like that line is like so great, because it's kind of like he's got something to prove, like we said before. Like he's been gone for all this time, he's now back. He said in the last song that he's still Dre, and now he's coming across saying like, "I don't really need to make songs because I own acres and I've got floor seats watching the Lakers. What else could I want? Like, why do I need to make an album?" Like that's how it's coming across to me. And then it comes across like the only reason he's making this album is because he wants to. He's doing it on his own terms. He's not doing it because he needs the money. He's not doing it because the fans want it. He's doing it because he thinks it's time that Dr. Dre brings out a new album.
Yeah, and it's evident because it seems like every album before that, he was just kind of... Sorry, cut off then. it's a good time for him to bring that album and like have that kind of realization, because before this album he had all those kind of like the ones that flopped, and it must have felt like he was trying to chase what he'd already had, whereas when he'd already signed all these other artists and he'd helped them out and he's risen himself back up to the top as like a well-known producer, then he drops this album, it's like a big deal.
Definitely. So after this track, we have Explosive. I know you're a fan of this track, so what do you remember about this one?
Yeah, like I said, that was one of the riffs I learned on guitar, and I remember just being like buzzing over that. And it's another song that just, when you listen to it, the bass and everything, just every layer is just standalone, just great. I've mentioned some of those unforgivable like lyrics on there, but my favorite part, my favorite Nate Dogg part, is when he's saying all the real smokers know Nate ain't passing nothing but dope. Dope indeed, real trees, chronic leaves, and then when he says no seeds, and I feel like that's just really, why do a lot of, like, it seems like a lot of gangster rappers who smoke always brag about how there's no seeds. Like, is this something that,
Yeah.
like, it's super gangster, just make sure you don't have seeds in your weed.
Yeah, it's definitely like a reoccurring theme, and like,
It's weird. Yeah, there's a bit more from Nate Dogg though, where it's like, oh, okay. Where he's like, I thought we had a chance, lady. No more. Now that I'm sober, you ain't that fine. And he's like, just real. Keeps cutting off, man. Sorry, I keep getting notifications. Yeah. We've touched on this song a lot anyway. Yeah. So let's move to the next track.
right. So the next track is again another one of my favorites. It's What's the Difference, and I think this is an absolute classic of a song. But what do you think of it?
Oh yeah, for sure, man. This is like one of the best ones. Every feature on it, Eminem, Snoop Dogg, Exhibit, they're all sick. And I like how the beat for this song is more well known, I reckon, in later years for that it was like Sean Paul and someone else kind of used the same beat for it. Do you remember that?
Yeah, Sean Paul and Blue Cantrell, and like that really like made it mainstream. And like, to be fair,
Yeah.
it was a great idea for them to steal this beat, and like, because like that was like one of Sean Paul. I mean, that's Blue Cantrell's only biggest song. Like when she stole this beat from like Dr Dre, because it's such a great beat.
Yeah, true, man. It really is a really good beat. Some of my favorite lyrics in this are from Exhibit. Where are they? Let me just find them a sec. Have you got any? In the meantime, have you got any lyrics that stand out for you?
Oh, I mean, to be honest, all of them from this song are like really, really strong. Like, back when Q was rolling with Lorenzo in a Benzo, I was banging with a gang of instrumentals. Like, that is just, I mean, I've heard that line so many times. I've probably rapped along to it so many times from being like a small English child, like rapping along to that, like thinking I was cool, driving to Bury with my mates in like a beat up car. So like now as like an adult, like looking back at that line, it's like, it's just such a great line. It's like, again, it's Dre giving us his life. Like he's giving us a bit of backstory as well.
Yeah, for sure, man. I agree with that. Like, it's one of the more iconic ones. There's obviously the Eminem verse is great, but one of the little, I reckon, some of the weird lyrics that Exhibit has is, until my death, I'm Bangladesh. I don't know what that means.
Yeah, I'm not too sure what that means.
Like
When I was a kid, I was like, oh, maybe Exhibit's from Bangladesh. I don't know. Like, is he like everyone's repping there, and maybe he's like repping Bangladesh. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe he has some connection to Bangladesh. I don't know. Until his death, he's Bangladesh anyway. So, yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, man. But this, yeah, like I said, one of the like standout songs on the album for sure.
Definitely, like, I can't explain like the power of the very first time. I remember the very first time I heard it. I can still remember it to this day. Like I was sat in the middle seat in the back in that car, and like dun 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 dun, and like it comes and it's so powerful, and like there's so much energy to it as well. Like it's pretty much perfect. This song, I'll be honest with you.
Yeah, even just the entire theme of it, of just like what's the difference between me and you, like just using that as like just a way to kind of flex on everyone, just being like, I do this and you do this kind of thing. It's a great like kind of just one of those songs where they're just boasting and flexing kind of thing.
Yeah, and like it sets the tone, kind of like it puts them really on a higher level where a lot of rappers try and do that, and they talk about, oh, I'm wearing this chain that costs this amount, or I've got this car, but like it's just simple in this. It's like, what's the difference between me and you? You talk a good one, but you don't do what you're supposed to do.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
one of
Like,
the best lyrics, that one. Yeah.
it's just so simple, like, but it's just straight to the point. It's fantastic.
Yeah, and I love how everyone's got their own style on it, and then when Eminem comes in, it's like, all right, hold up, stop the beat a minute.
Yeah, and it's just like, even like Dr. Dre goes, "What the fuck?" Like
Yeah, there's
it's
all
so
ad libs in it.
exactly so well put together that, and like it goes back to that cinematic piece, because for a second that turns it into like a bit of a comedy where it's like, what the fuck? Like, because obviously it's all put together and so great, and like, oh, I could go on and on about this song for days.
Yeah, man, it's so good. Yeah. But before we suck its dick any longer, let's move on to the next track.
So the next track is a skit. It's bar one.
I don't even remember that, man. I've like on my little notes, I've just gone straight onto Lightspeed. Should we move
So
on to
like basically, I'll just quickly just go over this skit. Basically, it's just like it's two women in a bar, and then Eddie Griffin like comes over and he's drunk and like he's trying to.
That one, okay.
He's trying to buy them drinks, and then Dr. Dre comes over and he's like, "Oh, can I smoke some chronic with you?" And then like it goes into Lightspeed. Then, so what do you remember about Lightspeed?
Oh yeah. I forgot that that's how it is introduced into it. Yeah, Lightspeed is for me. It's like, it's kind of the interval in the song. It's not by no means a bad song, but it's just the more chill one where it's not standing out massively. It's like well known, and you'd hear this and go like it's recognizable, but it's the breather in the album. There's the skit, and then there's this kind of just more chilled out like kind of interval song to just kind of take the momentum out of it for a moment.
Definitely. I'm going to say something that 5 years ago I probably wouldn't have agreed with, but like listening to it back again today, there's a lot of filler on this album. I could have done with, rather than a 22-track album, I could have done with like a 10-track album, and it might have been the greatest hip hop album of all time. But because it's 22 and the songs like Lightspeed on it, like this one, where it's like I just completely disconnect to this song. It's not a bad song. It's not like I listen to it and go, oh my God, what is that? I need to turn that off. It's just, I don't connect to it. It doesn't like touch me. I don't really feel it. Like it just kind of wastes 3 minutes of my time, if you get what I'm saying.
Yeah, it's the kind of thing where when you listen to the album by yourself, you're walking around, you might skip it, but if it's on in the car, I don't think it's just the kind of where you start talking over the top of it. You start just, like I said, it's just a little breather in there. So I guess it does have its place in a way, but yeah, like you said, if you wanted that complete package that makes it just standalone, just a great piece altogether, there is some fat that could be trimmed off the album.
Definitely. And like, next track is the next episode. No, sorry, it's not. The next track is Forgot About Dre with Eminem, which maybe is the first song I remember hearing. It was either this or Still Dre that I remember hearing first. And like these two songs for me are just such huge singles when I was a kid, and like seeing these videos on TV and like really starting to believe in like the coolness of hip hop. Because before this, like some of my favorite rappers were like Tupac, and I'm listening to songs like Brenda's Got a Baby, which is not a cool song. Brenda's Got a Baby is not, oh my God, how cool is this guy? It's more like an activism song, but like you can really feel it. But like this one, like Forgot About Dre, like you motherfuckers act like you forgot about Dre. Like Dre's the man. Like how dare you forget about him? And like Still Dre, like these songs like are going, hey, this guy's not just back, but he's always been here, and we're saying that he's the top dog, and you're going to believe him. And like as a kid, absolutely believed it.
Yeah, man, it's such a good song, this one. Like I listened to this before, and I found that it was the one that I could rap along to the easiest. Like it's just imprinted in my mind. It's just there, and I could have not listened to this song in 5 years, and I still be able to. It's like muscle memory, just just like chicka chicka. I'm fucking. As soon as I start doing that, I wish I could cut that part out where I start laughing over that part. Just the part chicka 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 Slim Shady, hotter than a set of twin babies, with the windows up when the temp goes up to the mid 80s. Like, do you know what it is? I'm trying not to sound like I'm emulating the accent. I'm just giving you it in my own English northern accent. Do you know what I mean? But yeah, that's just such an iconic line that it's just like really well known. And Eminem's style in this is like it's much faster. He's like kind of proven himself in this song as well. I think it's just like you could tell they were really like, and you can really see Eminem's influence on Dre's lyrics in this song, like the fact that he's ghostwritten this, because it's some of Dre's best bars on this album for sure.
Definitely, the strength of Eminem in this song is probably, for me, what really, really, really made me love this album. Because like Eminem was like the gateway to really, really loving this album, I think, and like his performance on this song. We talk about this being a movie. We talk about, maybe you could say each song is like a series of movies in like a more a broader thing, like Tarantino has each film, but they kind of all are similar-ish when you look back at them all and have similar themes. You can kind of say that each song is like its own film, and like this one here is like, I can't even put my word on it, but it's like a blockbuster. This is the blockbuster film on this album. It's the one that like everyone wants to go and see, regardless of what you're into. Everyone can listen to this song, and it's just quality.
Yeah, man, for sure. I know what you mean. That's definitely one that, it's another one of those like Still Dre that really stands out. And even the video was just super cool. I remember the video at the time, like this kind of ominous kind of like, it's as if they're going like, it's kind of in a dark alley, and Eminem's kind of, he's got a light on him that's giving him this big silhouette behind him. And there's even the bit where the guy's reading a magazine, and then there's a picture of Eminem, and then he starts moving in it and rapping his verse. And the guy drops the thing, and it's kind of like this kind of shady. It's kind of like this shady kind of thing where they're like, you think you forgot about Dre, did you? Well, come over here, psst, come over here, like that kind of thing.
Yeah, it's really powerful. And again, from the very first line of the song, like, y'all know me, still same OG, but I've been low key.
Yeah, man.
It's that constant theme of Dr. Dre, like him always feeling like he's got to prove himself, but he does it in a way where he's like, listen, you all know who I am. I'm still the same OG, but I've just been low key. That's the only reason I've not been in your face all these years, because I've been chilling out. And like, it kind of is this constant justification of who he is and why he's not really been at the forefront of the scene for the past few years.
Yeah, for sure, man. Like the whole thing about where he's like, he's been working, he's been in the studio kind of thing, and you might have forgot about him, but he's still been there doing all that work, and like he's back again, and like having Eminem on the track as well, just it's perfect, because it's like we're here because of our collaboration kind of thing.
Definitely, like a lot of the themes are like quite similar, like again quite similar, like through this song where he's saying like where we at. So he's saying stuff like did y'all think I'm like my dope freeze? Hold please, you better bow down on both knees. Who do you think taught you to smoke trees? Who do you think brought you the oldies, Easy E's, Ice Cubes, DOCs, and the Snoop DOWGs? Again, it's that thing of saying like, listen, I've been here from the beginning. I started all this shit. Not only that, but I brought you Easy, I brought you Ice Cube, DOC, and Snoop Dogg. I'm the one who brought them to your attention. I gave you that, and now he's giving you Eminem as well.
Yeah, it's like you might have forgotten about me. I might not be out there like right at the front of the scene, but I'm still doing the work. I'm behind. I'm the guy behind all these guys.
It's a perfect thing of like, because quite often there is that sense of like out of sight, out of mind, isn't there? Like, especially in modern society, where like we all have access to stuff like Twitter and Facebook and Instagram. If you've got like a constant stream of stuff out there, then you're in people's minds all the time. But like when you fall off and you're not seen like in the social sphere and you're not being talked about, people kind of forget about you, don't they? Like all these celebrities, if they're not being talked, like Eminem, he's not really talked about on a lot of these platforms for a long time. And it's only really when his album comes out or he's touring that all of a sudden everyone's talking about how he's the greatest ever. But then when he's not touring and when his album's not out, everyone kind of forgets about him, if that makes sense.
Yeah, for sure, man. And the same thing, it's got the same effect as Still Dre, this song where it's like, the two songs where he's proven that he's back, but they've also like stood the test of time. They've just been these great songs, these like blockbuster kind of films, like you said, these hit singles, and they've just stood the test of time. And he really did prove himself with this track.
Definitely. Let's move on to the next track, which is the next episode, which again, another one of those classic singles at the time. What do you remember about this one?
Yeah, iconic, man. I remember the video for it just being super cool. Like it was just in this club. I'm pretty sure it's like, because it's got that bum, 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 and it's just, everything's in slow motion. And then when that ba-da-da-da-da, it's just, oh man, it's just even thinking about that, it's like super iconic. Like you hear that in a club and everyone goes insane.
Yeah, what a great start. Da-da-da-da-da. It's the motherfucking D-O-double-G. Like, what a start to the song. Yeah, exactly. Everyone's got to say that as well. If you hear it, everyone goes Snoop Dogg. Like, just everyone does it.
Yeah, man, for sure. And you can tell again in this song, it's one of those where, like, Snoop Dogg's style where he kind of spells things out. The LBC, CPT, LBC, like all this kind of stuff where he's got his kind of like, I don't know really know how to describe his style, but it's almost, he's always got like the fewest words to kind of sum up what he's trying to say. He's very good at that. And you can see it in Dre's style in this, like clearly Snoop Dogg's helps Dre with the ghostwriting on this one, and you can see it kind of, that theme goes throughout the album.
Definitely, and again, this seems like the party song, isn't it? Like, where I think one of the lyrics is like, "Bitches looking at me strange, but you know I don't care. Step up in this motherfucker just to swing in my hair." And like, again, from the very seriousness of like the last one's like, "I taught you to smoke weed. I'm the one who did it. I'm the originator," and all this. Now Snoop Dogg's coming in there going, "Oh, we're all just having a party. People might be looking at me weird, but I'm just throwing my hair around." Like, it's just, it becomes more like the party song to me, and obviously like the way that it ends as well.
Yeah, man, for sure. And this song is so good. Like, as for all the layers, if you re-listen to this track, all the little ad libs after the bit, after certain certain bars, and then just all the backing vocals, harmonies, and just all these different elements to it. It just, again, is one of those super well produced, like classic Dr. Dre hip hop songs, like the big hits.
Definitely. Next track then, track number 12, we got Let's Get High.
Yeah, man, this is another one of those ones where it's like, there is actually, it's like, it's one of those ones that kind of you might skip past, but when you listen to the whole album, you walk around. But if it's on in the car, it's like, I don't know, it's another one of those, like, what was the song we said before? The Lightspeed. Yeah, it's kind of got that same kind of vibe to it, where it's not quite a throwaway track, but it's kind of another interval. Like, if you think about how the album is the track list, with Still Dre, Big Egos, Explosive, and then Lightspeed. Oh no, what was the difference? And then Lightspeed. It's these 4 super strong songs, and then it's Forgot About Dre, Next Episode, and then it's like Big Egos. It's kind of like doing that thing. It's giving you these. Like in a good stand-up set where it'll peak at some point, it'll bring it down a little bit, and it's not just hit. It's like he knows how to, like, that people are going to be riding around listening to this, and they need a break from the big songs kind of thing.
That's true, but I'm more of a believer of like the opposite way. When you'd make an album anyway, like I completely get it when it's like a live event, you've got to have that kind of dips and flows, and it's got to flow well. But like, when it comes to an album, I like more like the Stone Roses approach. You know, like the debut Stone Roses album, where it's like banger after banger. Then in the middle, you've got like Elizabeth, My Dear. You got like the backwards track. But like for the most part, it's just banger, banger, banger. Like, rather than just putting like 22 tracks on it and like filling it, they've just gone, right, here's our like top 10 songs. Let's just put them all out there together now. And like, we don't need to put these other 3 on there that we came up with. Let's just discard them because it's not a part of the masterpiece.
Yeah, that is actually a better. I think that is a better way of doing it, and it seems that hip hop over time has kind of done that more, where people kind of try and condense it to the bangers on the album. But it seemed that around this time that a lot of LPs, it was all like Marshall Mathers LP, that kind of thing. They were all about
like filling time.
Say again.
It's all about like filling time, isn't it? Like they just put every track they come up with on there till they fill it.
Yeah, because they've got all these different artists they want to collaborate with as well and have features, and they want to tell this story throughout it with the skits. So it ends up being like a big package kind of thing. And it's back then you want more of the artist. Like we've got to we're forgetting that nowadays we can just get anything like on demand, whereas then it might be another like 4 years until they bring out another album. So if you get 20 tracks on an album, you're like, oh, I've got more than I bargained for.
Do you know what? You're completely right there, because when I started buying CDs properly, I was about 16, and I used to go to college. I used to get EMA money from college, and I used to like go into Manchester. I used to go to 2 shops. I used to go to HMV and I used to go to FOP, and literally I would go to like the hip hop section, find the rappers that I'd heard of and that I might like but not have their albums, turn them like the other way around and just see how many tracks they had on. And that would be how I choose the albums. So if I'd see like, I don't know, like sometimes it'd be an album like Public Enemy, It Takes a Nation a Million to Hold Us Back, that I wanted that album. I wanted that album for years. But like when it came to like someone like De La Soul, I didn't know which album I wanted. So like I just turned them all the other way. I was like, oh, this one's got 17 and these ones have got 13. I'll just get the one with 17, not realizing the one with 13 is actually better, but what like ended up getting that anyway. But that's at the time when this is like 2004-ish, when I'm talking 2005. That's how I used to pick albums. Yeah,
you just kind of want as much from that artist as you can to really get into them. So nowadays you kind of want artists seem to bring out music a bit more often. There's so much more choice now that you kind of want this condensed package of great bangers kind of on an album. But back then it was like, let's give you a full LP, a full album, a big, like a story going through it, because we might not bring out another album for another 4 years or whatever. So here's 20 tracks.
Exactly. Sorry, as well now, if me and you have a band now and we just think, do you know what? We've got a song, it's ready to go. We could just put it out on YouTube and start making money that way. We can put it on Spotify and not make as much money, but still like there's ways to make money from it now where we just put them on these platforms and like you can start bringing in money straight away. Whereas in these old days, if you had a song, you have to just release them. You have to just put them out on a CD or something and try and earn money that way.
Yeah, for sure. And like, if you think about all the singles that came out of this album as well, like they have the singles on there, and then there's another like say 4 songs behind that could have been singles because they're that great. And then like as for filler songs, they might have just felt like we've got so many bangers on here and we've got this guy. I reckon it would have been condensed from 30 songs even. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, definitely, because I was listening earlier on to some of the rejected songs that like didn't quite make the album, and we're talking about ghostwriters before, and like I think what the process might have been, because there's 2 songs out there by Royce da 5'9", who was one of the ghostwriters on this, and basically the songs are out there on YouTube where he's rapping them, but he's rapping them as if he's Dr. Dre. So he's saying like, like he's mentioning himself as if he's Dr. Dre. He's mentioning himself as if he's from Compton, which they're quite good. One of the songs is called something along the lines of like "The Throne Is Mine" or "Watch the Throne" or something like that. It was worth checking out.
I'll check these out.
Yeah. So, I mean, I can't remember what my original point was now, but yeah. There's a lot. That's what it was. There's a lot of songs that were like cut off the album that didn't quite make it in the end, which I kind of wonder in hindsight, like maybe there's some gems that we didn't quite get, but I think they released them afterwards on like mixtapes and stuff like that. So maybe it's worth going back and checking those out, because I've definitely not really listened to most of that. Yeah,
I think there is like a little like say Chronic 2001.2 or something. I don't know, something like that. Like there is something on Spotify even maybe. So I'll have to look into that.
Nice one. So, but yeah, back to this song, "Let's Get High." I'm not really a fan of this song. I don't really enjoy it. It's okay. Like I said with Lightspeed earlier on, it's not one of the ones where like I'm going, oh my god, what's this? I need to turn it off. Like there's some music out there that does that to me, but this is just one of those like, okay, let's just let it go by.
Yeah, I think it's the one where they were like, all right, we've got to make a weed song. Let's make a weed song. Like we're smokers. Let's do that. So I think that's got its place on this album for that reason. There'll be a lot of like potheads who are like, oh, I love that song. It says high in the title. Do you know what I mean?
Well, I don't know how much I'm going to get into that.
Right. So, what do you think of track 13?
Track 13, I like how you've worded that. To be honest, it's one of those where it's like super gangster. If you listen to it in the car, it sounds cool. Like it's a hard track, but it's not. Yeah, again, it's one of those I don't really relate to. It doesn't stand out for me too much. What about you?
Yeah, same for me. It's kind of a filler track. I'm not a big fan of it. It's just one of those. It's kind of there. I could take it or leave it, to be completely honest with you.
Yeah, same for me, man. To be honest, this half of the album now, it starts to become a bit more like it's the bangers are fewer and far between. If you know what I mean.
Yeah, I feel like he definitely laid it towards the beginning of the album, so like you really start to feel it, and then like, yeah, it starts to taper off a little bit, doesn't it?
Yeah, for sure. There are a few left though in here, like few more of the bigger songs. So should we move on to the next one?
Yeah, track 14, we've got The Car Bomb. Again, it's another skit. What do you remember about this one?
Not too much, to be honest. Yeah, it's again skits are the kind of thing that I skip sometimes if I'm not. Yeah, I remember as a kid having CDs and Walkmans and stuff. So Eminem's albums, I would kind of hear the skits every time because you're not really shuffling it that much. You kind of listen it from front to end. But with this album, it's kind of past the point where I'm really even listening to the skits. I'm kind of skipping through to the songs.
Yeah, I remember because I used to like upload. I used to borrow the CD off a mate or whatever, and then rip it to my iTunes, and then I'd just delete all the skits pretty much straight away because I'd be like, oh, it's just taking up room on my computer. Like, I don't even want to. Because what I don't want to do is like, say I was like, I don't know, doing push-ups in my room or whatever as like a 15-year-old. Be there like listening to some music, and then like a skit comes on. I'm like, oh, it's ruining my vibe.
Yeah, for sure. And if when we had iPods and stuff, even like you don't want the skits to be on there because if you're just playing like shuffle, you just don't want just some weird like the pause for porno kind of thing coming on. That's the skits coming up soon. Like
yeah, definitely. Kind of so we'll move straight on to track 15. Then it's Murder Inc. What do you remember about this one? This is the way it picked up again for me.
Yeah, to be honest, this is kind of one of the ones where it's one of those ones that haven't stood out for me. But go on, why don't you tell me your opinion on it, and then I'll see what, because it's one of those ones that I'm not remembering that great. Even though I listened to it before, it's still it's not stood out that much. But what are you thinking of it?
For me, the chorus is really strong. Where it's like, "This is everybody, murderer." To fucking everybody, murderer. Like, do you know what I mean? I just like that bit of it. It's like that bit is so strong that like it carries a song for me.
Yeah, for sure, man. I know what you mean. That is actually it. Yeah, it's one of those ones where it hasn't stood out, but then when it does come on, you're like, oh yeah, this is a sick track actually.
Yeah, definitely. So, I mean, in terms of the lyrics, there's not really much to pick at here in terms of lyrics. It's all just quite generic-y kind of gangster rap, you know, stepped out the car, put my steel to the side of his face, you know, that kind of thing. Murder this the fucking case, you know, that, you know.
But the beat actually, like, I've just reminded myself of it now. I just clicked play on my headphones there, and it is a super gangster beat. It's kind of got that ominous, like, high piano notes, and it starts off with the crash, the smashing of glass, and it is a pretty gangster beat, this one.
Definitely, it's cinematic as well, and like that's the thing that I'm saying about a lot of these songs, aren't we? And like, I think as an album, and like as we were saying before, with like Dre's like a composer, he's a conductor, he's like a movie director as well, and he's making these movies, and like all the songs are like quite cinematic in their own right.
Yeah, for sure, man. Yeah. There's definitely got that element to it. This, like, especially, so I'm surprised that I forgot the murderer like chorus though. It's pretty iconic, that one on this album.
Yeah, and then track 16, we've got Education with Eddie Griffin. What do you remember about this one?
Yeah, I don't remember that. That's another one I've skipped. But is that a good? Is it a funny one with the with Eddie Griffin on there?
It's it's not really like a funny one. It's like dark humor. He's basically saying like, oh, everyone says that men are pimps and pimps are bad, but like the biggest pimps around is like your mama, because like your mama's the one who said, oh, make sure you get a guy with a good car, girl. Make sure he's got a good job. Make sure he can take you places. Make sure he can buy you things. She's the one who's like taught you how to like pimp yourself out for years and like make sure you do it for money. Like, basically that's like the, and then like whatever happened to falling in love with someone with a bus pass? That's like one of the lines that I thought was really good.
Yeah, that is cool. Yeah, actually, yeah. Yeah, that's kind of one of those ones where I like when they've there's one of those skits that stands out on an album that really says something like that. Like, yeah, I guess that is a good point.
And then you've got track 17, Some LA. What do you remember about that one?
Yeah, just so many features on this, man. What we got here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 features. Is Dr. Dre even on this song as well?
Do you know what? Not off the top of my head, no. I think it is just all the features, but yeah, there are 8 features on it. And this is a real hodgepodge, is it? Like for me, but it's quite good.
The beat is one of the like, better beats on here. They're just like classic kind of. It's just that real deep bass and the piano coming in. Like it's like classic throughout this album. It's that theme going, the G funk kind of thing. Like, yeah, it is a good song. This like it's one of the better ones on the album, of the kind of unknown ones, like the not the singles kind of thing.
Yeah, like a bit of a sleeper track.
Yeah, just one of those like. Do they call them deep cuts? I'm sure that's like a term for it. Like, say if you some of the better known songs by Kings of Leon, but they're not the singles, are the, in quotation marks, deep cuts. I've heard that before, that term before.
I've heard the term, but I've never really understood what it meant before, or really known the context of it. So you might be right, you might be wrong, but I've honestly got no idea.
This song, track 17, is a deep cut. There you go. We've done it. We figured it out. If we're right or wrong, I'm calling this track the deep cut of the album.
Calling it a deep cut. There we go. Fair enough. What about track 18 then? Pause for Porno.
Yeah, like we said, it's one of those ones where you're like skipping frantically to try and wherever you are, you're in the car at the lights and everyone thinks you're watching porno, or you're in your room and your mum can hear it. You're trying to get, even just in headphones, I'd feel uncomfortable with this track. I'm like, come on, let's get this off. But
Yeah,
I suppose it.
for me, there's no point to it as a listener. As a listener, like it seems like Dre was trolling, or maybe he wasn't trolling, but he just wanted to put something so explicit on his album because, like, fuck it, I can do whatever I want. Maybe that's what his intention was. But it just feels like to me, you're just trolling. You're giving me something that I don't really want to listen to. I don't want to listen to that. There's the real thing out there that you can watch. Do you know what I mean? Like, there's no need for it.
Yeah, but knock it off, Dre. All right. But yeah, no, I know what you mean. It's kind of just going like, I'll do whatever I want.
Yeah, and then the next track is track 19, which is Housewife. What do you remember about that one?
Another one of those ones where you're like, wow, this is this is pretty sexist.
Yeah, like the whole thing of like you can't make a whole housewife. Like I think this is the one that was on, and I was like I'm not really one to throw around the toxic masculinity like phrase, like, because I feel like it gets overused and I feel like it gets misused. But like there was definitely times in this album where I was like, no, that toxic masculinity is definitely a real thing, and this is a great example of it.
Yeah, it is a pretty mad song, like the stuff that they got away with then. But overall, the actual beat and the just like, say if you switch the lyrics to something a little more listener friendly, I think a lot of people would regard this as like a good song, like the melody and like just everything. Yeah, the chorus and stuff. It is a good song overall. It's just that it's in 2020, it's a bit more harder to listen to because we've been kind of we were more desensitized to it then, I think.
And not just that, like I can't really relate to it and can't really understand people relating to it. Like it feels like to me like like you get like there's women that are men haters and there's men that are women haters, aren't they? And they're like you have incels and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It really feels like the kind of an album that an incel would like really like track that an incel would really love. Like, yeah, fuck women, you can't make a whole housewife. Yeah, do you know what I mean? Like, I just can't relate to it and like can't really like get on board with it. And like again, I cringe just thinking that like 13-year-old me was listening to this at some point.
Yeah, I know what you mean, man. Yeah, it's definitely got that feeling. The next track is pretty much the keeping that theme going.
Yeah, go on. What's our next track?
That's Act Right, the one I talked about before, featuring Hitman, and Hitman's verse on this was great. But this song for me is like his flow on it is great, but it's kind of transcended that, oh, this is misogynistic, to being the point where it is so sexist and misogynistic that I listen to it and literally laugh at how like absurd it is. Like it's so shocking, in the same way that you'd hear a really horrible joke and you laugh at it. It's the same thing with this album. You're like, whoa. It's
like a parody almost at this point, isn't it?
Yeah, true. Yeah. It is pretty mad that this guy's just like, yeah, it's absolutely crazy with this track, man.
Like, I mean, there's some of the lyrics that like I get it. People can relate to something like, it was just one of those days when I wanted to catch sun rays, have fun and get blunted on a Sunday afternoon. Like, that's quite a relatable like 3 lines, and then like just from there he just kind of goes down a little bit.
Yeah, I know what you mean. There is a really good lyric on the second verse that he does where it's like, drink kicking in, I'm stimulated. For those that don't know big words, I'm fucking faded.
Yeah, when I heard that again today, like, because like when you like as a comedian, like you go to some towns and like you use a big word in your set and they just don't understand it, and it kind of derails your entire set. Because like if they miss that, if they miss that key part, like I remember we did a gig. I won't say where the town was, but there was a female comedian, and she was talking about being an introvert and not an extrovert, and like it was integral to a set, and you could tell the audience had no idea what she was talking about, what an introvert or an extrovert was, and it derailed a set because like they didn't understand like any of the rest of it because they didn't understand the context. And I was like, I can't believe their lack of understanding has just done that. I'm like, yeah, like so when I heard that before, like, oh, for those who don't understand big words, I'm fucking faded. Like that was just a great line.
Yeah, true. Yeah, and like maybe in the situation with that comedian, if she had have said shy and confident, then it might have. But you never, you like it's
No, because like you could see like they were kind of like like when you're like leaning forward and kind of tilting your head, like you're trying to like, listen better. You could see they were all kind of doing that, like like I'm trying to understand what you're saying. I'm trying my best, but I just can't. Like if she just would have said shy and confident, like oh I'm quite shy, like they would have. I think they would have been going with it, but So anyway,
if Hitman would have been there, just whenever she says that, he's like, for those who don't know big words, that's fucking shy and fucking confident, and that would have worked. She needs a hitman.
I would love someone to be my hitman, like when I'm on stage, and if that ever happens to me, and just get up on stage and be like, listen for everyone, this is what I mean. I'd love that.
Yeah, man. Your next act is Adam Anwar featuring a hitman.
Yeah. Right, so it's the penultimate track of the album, track number 21. We got Bang Bang. What do you remember about this one?
I really love this track. Like the whole.
Do you?
Yeah, I do like it. You know, what I do like in hip hop tracks is like female vocals that have been pitched up high. I just really enjoy that a lot. There's a song, Drake's song "Do Not Disturb." There's a song called by J. Cole called "Deja Vu." There's a lot. It's quite popular in a lot of songs where they've got like those pitched up high female vocals. And I do like this song. Like it's the kind of one that comes on and you're like, I don't know. It's one of those. I don't know. It stands out to me for some reason. And I'm looking on the Wikipedia here, and Eminem had a part in writing this. He's not featured on the album, but on the song, sorry, but he had a part in writing this too.
So that's interesting that you really like that, because I don't like that part of the song where like the female voice, like the female voice in it. Like it just, for me, I don't enjoy it. But hey, this is why art is great, because like one thing that I don't enjoy, you can absolutely love it, and vice versa. And that, you know, that's the beauty of art.
Yeah, for sure, man. Yeah, like that seems to be a theme that I always like in hip hop songs, and for some reason, for some people, it might just like great at them. They're just like, oh, I wish they wouldn't do that in a track, whatever. But yeah, it's not. I guess there's something for everyone on this album in a way. What I really like about this song though is the guitar riff on it is really cool. Like, I was gonna try and replicate it then, but we won't. We'll let.
Yeah, go on, give it a go, Phil.
All right. Well, let me just replay it. I've got it right here. I'll replay it off the mic so I can just remind myself of it.
Yeah, go on. I'll fill a bit of time and just talk while you do that. And but yeah, this song, all in all, for me, it's one of the ones where I can take it or leave it. If I was going to like eliminate this album or like trim it down to like a 10-track album, this be one that like for me didn't make the cut. But I mean, I'm guessing you definitely keep it in. But go on, let's say your guitar riff.
Ding, ding, ding. No, I was just gonna like interrupt you halfway through saying that, but no, it's not gonna be good, man. I'll tell you what, I'll go and get my guitar and I'll learn it. And if any of your listeners are interested, they can find me on Dr Dre Covers YouTube.com.
Oh, I'm a big follower of you, and like Phil covers Dr Dre via guitar. I mean, it's a great channel.
I know, right? That's why I'm really here to I'm here to promote my Dr. Dre Covers YouTube channel. That's not true, everyone, and thankfully so, because it wouldn't be good.
He doesn't cover it on the guitar, though. He covers it in his voice, like ding, 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 ding.
Exactly.
Right, so the final track of the album, The Message, where this is where the tone completely changes. We've got that constant theme over the last couple of songs, which is kind of like a toxic masculinity kind of vibe, but now we get to something like very like solemn, and it's The Message, where as a child this song really confused me, because like it felt like it was a love song, but then like it was also I felt like it was about a male as well, like about a family member, like, and about his brother. And like when I researched into it, it was about his brother, and like I thought, why is it so much like a love song? And like there's lyrics in there is like, oh, like I'm only half the man that I was. I'll never let my case get better. Like my better half is up there with you, or whatever he says. Like, oh, that's what it says. He says, "What am I supposed to do? I'm only half the man that I was. I'll never last because my better half is up there with you." And like he's referring to his brother as his better half, and like that's like quite a romantic gesture. So like it's very weird, and this very toxic masculinity kind of vibe of an album. We get to the last track, and he's kind of singing a love song about his brother, but it's kind of very fitting as well.
Yeah, true. And it's funny how a lot of like artists will. I think that's what they do often is you'll hear a song and it sounds like a love song because like they know that the formula of love song works, so they're just hiding because sometimes it can be like people do a love song for their love of a certain drug. But they've hidden it in the love song thing. So he's kind of done it like that, where he's expressing this feeling for his brother that passed away. It was in NWA, that wasn't it? Like, did you watch the film? Sorry, Straight Outta Compton. Did you watch that?
I did, yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, like after watching that and like knowing a bit more of the story, this song does kind of like mean a lot more the second time. And I do like the beat on it as well. It's real, like you can hear. Its influence on a lot of music that came after that kind of thing, this kind of style.
And like this track as well, it's one that I don't know how, but at some point it accidentally got deleted off my iTunes, and I didn't even realize it had got deleted. And then years later, I'd not heard it for about 10 years because of that. Then years later, I just stumbled upon it again, and I was like, oh my god, like this! I've not heard this song in so long, and I absolutely loved it when I listened to it back again that time. I'm still a decent fan of it now, but like at that moment, not hearing it for 10 years and like forgetting it existed, and then it coming up randomly, I was like, this is an incredible song. And it's a really nice way for him to like round off his album, because all the way through it is like, even but like before, like the beginning tracks where it's all like, oh, I'm back again, and you know me, I'm the top guy, I'm the top this, and I brought Eminem to you, and I brought Snoop Dogg, and I brought the Doc, and all these things. And now at the end, he's just like pouring his heart out for his brother, and like it's a really nice end to the album.
Yeah, for sure, man. Sorry, a little delayed on that one. Yeah, for sure, man. I agree with you on that one. Like, it is a nice, it closes up the album real well with this like emotional kind of ending to it. But yeah, on the whole, man, just great album. What do you think? There's obviously those filler tracks, but it does stand out as one of the best hip hop albums.
Definitely. So, like, if you would have asked me about 10 years ago, I would have probably said that this is one of the greatest albums of all time. Like, I mean, I still think it's a really good album, but at the time, I probably would have rated it maybe like my top 3, my top 5 as like an incredible top of the range album. After listening back to it today and like with like a kind of, I tried to listen to it from like a neutral perspective. I didn't want to like have those nostalgic vibes. I wanted to be more neutral. And like, there's still some tracks on it that are absolutely incredible, like The Watcher, Still Dre, like What's the Difference, Forgot About Dre. That are just incredible. But for all the filler that's on it and all the songs that I can't really relate to and like some of the subject matter that I disagree with, it brings it down a couple notches. And like I would probably rate it about an 8 out of 10. How about you?
Yeah, man, I'm going to go with that one too. Yeah, 8 out of 10. Like you said, like there's certain themes of it and certain those filler songs that if you just got rid of them, it'd be a 9 or a 10. But I guess we've got to look at it like at the time it kind of it made sense in the climate of the like of hip hop and society at the time. It kind of fit in and it was okay as this kind of like push back to this PC culture of the time of like trying to stop with the parental advisory stickers and everything and like trying to control what artists talk about. It was kind of this push back to it. So even though
it was like an anti-censorship issue, really, wasn't it?
Yeah, for sure. So it seemed like they were pushing back on that further. So in a way, it's like songs like Act Right, where it's kind of hilarious how offensive it is. It's kind of in that way. So I'm going to give it a 0.5 more for that element of it. Is that even though we can't enjoy that now because it is like, wow, what were they talking about then? There's also an element of it like there was a reason they were doing it. They were the Dave Chappelle of that time where there's this cancel culture and he's coming out going, here's some real offensive jokes to make you laugh because remember it's just jokes, remember it's just music.
Yeah, because I remember like when I was a kid I watched the Death Row Records documentary and it had like, I think it's C. Dolores Tucker. She was like an activist in America and she was saying like she wanted to ban hip hop because they were using the word bitch and stuff like that. And like all the Death Row artists like Dr. Dre especially, they used to fight back against that stuff. So you are right, actually. It's something that I hadn't thought of until you mentioned it, but no, you were completely right. Like, they are kind of going out against that censorship and the anti-censorship and kind of, on that note, anti-establishment as well, which is, it's kind of like hip-hop was kind of the modern punk in that sense, I feel like.
Yeah, for sure, man. Yeah, like, the whole... Like, obviously, NWA they were the reason that those parental advisory stickers were put on albums. Mm-hmm. So it seemed to be at the time of like when Eminem had Marshall Mathers LP and stuff and everyone was picketing outside of studios going mad. So this album was just like all out, like all the different features on there are just kind of said it was like Hitman and stuff where he's just kind of saying whatever he wants and just being just as offensive as possible. It is kind of like funny to hear that now, so many years later.
Yeah, man. So what's your favourite track off the album then? Having gone through every single one and listened to it earlier today, what's your favourite track off it?
I think Explosive is my favourite track on that album, yeah, for sure.
Right, interesting, because my favourite one is What's the Difference? I think I've got to go either What's the Difference or maybe Forgot About Dre, because it was such a great single. And I think a lot of the times with music, we're snobs, aren't we? And if it's a single, we kind of discard it. But like, if there's no such thing as singles, I think Forgot About Dre for me might be the best one because it's so overplayed. Or maybe What's the Difference? I don't know. I can't decide. But I'll go What's the Difference just to not sit on the fence.
Yeah, I know what you mean. But Forget About Dre is like undeniably one of the best tracks on there. And like you said, What's the Difference too. But I think Explosive for me was just at the time when I was kind of learning more about music, that kind of got through a little bit more as like being the song on the album where I was like, whoa. Like the level of production to this kind of really stood out, and I kind of, whenever I'm thinking of showing someone a great song from that album, I always go to that one.
That's interesting in terms of the guitar playing, like you said. But like, how about like as a stand-up comedian? Then, is there anything in this album that you can like look at, like off the top of your head, and say, do you know what? I can draw an influence from this.
Getting on the mic and just trying it.
That is a good question. That Eminem's part in it, I guess, where he's is that on What's the Difference, where he's like stop the tape, and like, we've touched on that part before, where he's got like these kind of comedic elements to it. I guess that. Yeah, Eminem was a big influence in my life when I was growing up, so I guess there's probably some comedic elements that have come from that. So yeah, I guess that's one way you can draw inspiration from it.
Yeah, man, that's interesting, and like, yeah, good stuff. So, how would you rate this album then compared to his other two main studio albums? He's got Chronic from about 1982. And then was it called Compton, the one that he brought out about 5 years ago? Where would you rate it in the midst of all those?
Yeah, well, that first one, Chronic, was great, but it's something that I'm too late for that one. Do you know what I mean? That was right at the beginning of like introducing Snoop Dogg with like Gin and Juice and Nothing But a G Thing and all that those kind of songs. And then Compton. Yeah, I didn't really rate it too much. It was kind of like he was kind of past his prime, and there's no Forgot About Dre's and Still Dre or anything like that, those kind of songs on there. So definitely 2001 is his top album for sure.
I feel the exact same way as you, to be honest with you. I feel like Chronic was like really special and really like, I mean, Chronic helped to launch Snoop Dogg, didn't it? And like that's so valuable in terms of the history of like hip hop, especially 90s hip hop. And then when Compton came around, I was expecting so much from it. I was really, really looking forward to it. It didn't deliver to the level. It was still good. It's still a very enjoyable listen, but like it didn't deliver to the level of these past two albums. I think I got to agree. Dre 2001 is definitely his best album. So I think we've covered everything, Phil.
Yeah, man, that was a good chat, man. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, man. So before you go, is there anything that you want to plug? Anything that you want to go over?
Yeah, man, I'll say this one thing for the listeners out there. Adam Anwar is a top guy in the comedy scene. He's done me a lot of kind of solids where he's like got me on a gig, or he's even when I've not had Facebook and Instagram, he's given me a ring and he's gone, do you want to get on this gig? I've got a spot for you. I've turned up to a gig before and he's gone, you have 10 minutes, you headline. And it's just ended up being one of the better nights of comedy for me. So appreciate it for that, Adam. And thanks for having me on today, man.
Oh, it's so nice, so nice. I mean, I slip you that 20 quid that I paid you to say that. But
yeah, man, I'm expecting that in the mail.
Oh, nice one, Phil. Nice one. Cheers for coming on. Honestly, it's been a good chat. It's been nice having you on.
Yeah, sweet, man. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, for anyone who's going to come out to see us when all this is over, yeah, definitely look out for Phil because he's a funny guy.
Cheers, brother. We'll see you all in 2030 when this is finally over.
Yeah, man. See you all soon.